Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. I'm joined here today by former Penn State hockey player who is currently with the L.A Kings organization, Cole Hults. Cole, welcome to the podcast, and how's everything going?
Good. Thanks for having me, Matt. Just hunkering down here in LA right now with kind of kicking off the season, so not much going on.
Well, that's good to hear. And what have you been up to since your season last ended? Anything interesting?
Not really. I had surgery 5.5 months ago, hip surgery. So kind of just been recovering from that. In LA, I've been in LA for about a month and a half now. So just kind of finishing up my rehab now, and I just got cleared actually last Wednesday. So that was exciting and kind of excited to get back on the ice.
Well, that's good to hear. And how's L.A.? What's the city like?
It's good. It's a really nice area. I mean, right now everything's shut down, so I mean, you a lot of time you're staying inside, you're playing Xbox with your buddies. But I mean, everyone that's playing hockey is in the same boat. Like I got a buddy, Barrett actually, he's in Chicago, so me and him play a lot of Xbox and talk and just try to hang out online, and that helps. But we got the beach here, obviously, which is great, but everything's closed down. I just pick up and yeah, you can't dine outside here in California either. So just kind of trying to do what we can.
Yeah, and talking to other college hockey players, there was a lot of challenges people had to face preparing for this upcoming season with gyms being closed and less ice time. How did you try to overcome some of those challenges?
I mean, I had rehab, right? So I just had my normal, 4 days a week. So I would go in there. I wasn't really able to do much more. So, even if I did want to and things were closed, it didn't matter. But before my surgery, I was finding ice and able to work out. I knew a guy, as many people did. So I was fortunate in that way. But yeah, once I got my surgery, it was just kind of focusing on rehab and just getting back to 100%.
Now, I want to start off talking about the beginning of your hockey career. You're from Wisconsin. How did you start playing hockey and falling in love with the sport?
Just family. I mean, both my brothers played, so I kind of just followed suit. Grew up on the lake, so playing pond hockey with the brothers, and basically just kind of that's how we got started.
Now, who was your favorite player growing up, and what part of their game do you try to emulate to your game a little bit?
Um, I really like Duncan Keith. Back in the day when Chicago was really good. Um, he was just explosive. Like he played in a simple way, and I knew I wasn't always the most skilled guy, but I knew I could make those simple plays. So, I mean, I wouldn't really compare myself to him. I'd more compare myself to like Ryan Suter. I mean, I grew up watching him and being around him at the rink, and I think my game it resembles his game. So.
And before Penn State, you played for the Madison Capitals in the USHL. How did you get the opportunity to play with that team?
Actually, when I was a freshman, so I played freshman high school hockey, and then sophomore year, I was making a decision whether to play Caps or go to Milwaukee Admirals, two AAA programs in Wisconsin, and I ended up talking to Garrett Suter, who coached the U18 team there, and he kind of hinted at the USHL bringing a team, and there's a lot of opportunities, so I kind of just took that and ran with it, and that year they ended up drafting me, and it ended up working out actually. So like my brother was he was in Indiana, and then they just folded. So in the dispersal draft, he got picked up by Madison. So it was actually like it was really cool.
Yeah, and talk about your experience in the USHL and how did it help prepare you for college hockey?
It was good. I mean, my senior year was kind of a different year. I was just I was playing that sixth, seventh D role, just kind of focusing on my own end. That was a tougher year, but it was really good for me in a way. So the next year I followed up and I had a really good year with Garrett Suter coaching. He gave me a lot more opportunity, and I was able to take advantage of that.
Now, talk about your recruiting process and why did you choose to go to Penn State?
Oh, I got one of the wildest, well, not wildest, but just weird. I went through three schools. So when I signed with Lake State actually, so my brother went to Lake Superior State, and that's who I initially signed with. So I committed there, signed, ended up getting out of my NLI, and that wasn't until I had my breakout year, and I didn't get out of my NLI until the end of the year. So I didn't really have really many options. So I had an offer from Lake State, Providence, and then Penn State. and Penn State didn't really know if they're going to have room or not. They didn't know if this guy was going to sign pro, and so I ended up committing to Providence, but then realized I really didn't want to go, and I kind of forced the issue just because I didn't want to play junior hockey again. So I decommitted there, and then as soon as the guy at Penn State signed, I immediately called Penn State and explained the situation. And obviously they were kind of hurt that I didn't pick them in the first place, but they understood that I didn't want to go back to juniors. So that ended up working out, and I loved my visit. It was just the timing didn't seem right, but and as soon as that spot opened up, I took it right away.
Yeah, what was it like to play with Guy Godowski, and how did he help your hockey development?
He was just great. Like, he's just so easy to play for. I mean, he can be tough on you like anybody, but we just had such a good relationship and understanding of each other. He just let me play my game. Didn't bother me too much, which was nice. If he saw something that was consistent in my game that needed to be changed, he would tell me. It was just he's just a really good coach, but also a good person. Like, he treated you really fair. So I always appreciated that about him.
Now, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the mental side of the game, making quicker decisions with the puck, or was it more just the physicality, playing against players that are 5 or 4 years older than you were at the time?
I mean, my transition was actually pretty well. I mean, I actually didn't really have too tough a time. I actually had a really good first half, and that's when I got some traction, and I went to World Junior Camp, which was pretty it's not something that I would see myself ever getting invited to. So I actually had a really good first half. The biggest thing, I mean, was probably, I mean, you got a couple fast guys in the USHL, but I mean, we had a really fast team. I mean, obviously, like, each level you go up, the speed is a change. So I mean, for me, it was probably just making sure I get my looks in, and that's probably the biggest thing is you got to know where everybody is, because you have little time to make decisions. So
Yeah, in your first year at Penn State, you beat Minnesota in the Big Ten playoffs. Talk about your first conference playoff experience, and what did you take away from it?
it was awesome. I mean, playing at Pagula too, like, I mean, it's pretty special. Like, even the playoff games were just as good as the regular season. But I mean, the energy in that place was spectacular. It was amazing. I'll never forget it. But Minnesota, I mean, it was cool. I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin, so I mean, obviously, like, not a Minnesota fan and not a Wisconsin fan anymore. But we yeah, we ended up, that was crazy because we beat them like 5 times in a row, and that's the only reason we made the tournament that year, and that was the only way we were going to. And we just kept sticking to our plan, like, we're just gonna outwork them, and it ended up working. But it was like 4 or 5 games we won against them, so it was kind of crazy to do that to Minnesota.
Yeah, and you had your first national tournament experience against Denver that year. What did you take away from your first national tournament experience, and what was it like playing in that tournament overall?
That was a very big eye opener about how good these top level players are. I mean, I was out against Troy Terry and Bjorkstrom, and I mean, they were playing with me. They were using the net on me, like, making me fall over. I mean, they embarrassed me that game. So I did not have fun. It was very, I learned a lot from it, but it sucked. Like, I mean, that Denver team was so good, but I mean, it made me realize, like, this is like, these are like the top guys in college. Like, imagine, the top guys in the NHL. So it's very eye opening. It was a good experience, but yeah, it was a tough game.
Now, you were saying how it was so much fun to play at the Pagula Arena just because of the atmosphere. As a player, just talk about that student section and the atmosphere you got to play in those games, because it seems so much fun just to watch it as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, they bring it every night. Um, they're just it's just crazy. Like, the way they built it, I think they did a great job. It's a perfect college hockey rink. I mean, we had, like, at one point, I think it was like 156 consecutive sellouts. Like, it was ridiculous, and like, it's hard to explain because, like, the first couple times, like, I mean, it really shakes you up a little bit with how loud it is, and how crazy, and how much passion, like, the fans have. And I mean, the only other place I really could compare it to is University of Michigan. They do a good job too. Their rink's really loud, but I mean, like, our best night versus their best night to go all day. Like the whiteout game it's crazy.
Now, what's one particular chant from the student section that you like the most?
Oh, wow, I didn't listen that close. I mean, there's, I mean, you can't really understand them, honestly. Like, I don't pay attention that much. Like, I mean, it's always cool when they're yelling a player's name, when they kind of trip the goalie, but I mean, they can only go so far with it. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't know that one.
Now, in your sophomore season, you beat Wisconsin in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament after losing to them in the first game. What was the message heading into Game 2 of that series, and how did that series help prepare you for Ohio State in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament that year?
Yeah, that was sophomore year. God, that was the best feeling ever after beating those guys. Um, the first game I remember, it was very chippy and chirpy. Like it was a lot of talk, a lot of talk. So our main focus in that second game was just, hey, let's just shut up and play. And they continued to talk, and we actually ended up winning, that night, obviously. And then Sunday or the third game, there wasn't nobody was tripping each other. It was just everyone played hockey. It was crazy how those first two games went and how much yapping there was. But I think that was just we had to focus on ourselves, and obviously it was the right thing to do.
What's it like playing a team like that with so many first-round picks and NHL players, and what's it like getting the chance to beat them, especially in college hockey?
I mean it's cool to beat those guys, but I mean there's guys that I played with on Penn State that are they might not be as young and I wouldn't say promising, but I mean they're older, and if they're better if not at that time in their life, like Brandon Byro, Nate Cease, Barrett, like these guys are good. Like so I mean beating those guys, like I expected to beat those guys. Like yeah, even though they're first rounders, like we still look down on them. Like they were younger. We had such a good team. Like it was it was easy. Like we never it never even crossed our minds, to be honest.
You then beat Ohio State 5-1 in the Big Ten semifinals. What do you remember from that game, and what was your mindset heading into the Big Ten championship that year?
Yeah, that game was blurry for me actually. I mean, I played well. Yeah, we ended up freaking killing them 5-1. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of confidence. Like we played so well that game. Like just rolled Ohio State. I mean, they were good too. Like they had all their good guys. Zinski and 26, whoever I forgot his name. But so yeah, I mean, we were feeling good going against Notre Dame. We played if just as well against Notre Dame. That Kale Morris has won them won them that game. Basically, just stole it. I mean, there's definitely some things we could have. You know, we definitely shot ourselves in the foot a couple times. Like 3-4 mistakes. But I mean, we played a really good game. So I mean, both teams are playing their best hockey. It kind of just they had a really hot goalie.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that game. You lost to Notre Dame in the Big Ten championship. What do you think personally went wrong during that game, and what emotions were you feeling after that loss, knowing that you weren't going to play in the national tournament that year?
Um, I mean, what went wrong? I mean, a lot of things go wrong. I mean, it's just everyone's at fault. I don't know anything specifically that went wrong. It was honestly, it was just their goalie. I think like their goalie was unbelievable. But yeah, we didn't know we weren't going to make the tournament officially till I think a couple weeks later. We were waiting on some games, and ended up not working out. I mean, it was more just devastating because we thought we should have beat Notre Dame because of how well we played. So I mean, and that stung. And then a week later, we found out we were in the tournament. Like we were practicing, and that was tough. But the good news was we had a ton of everyone was coming back to school, so we were going to have a really good group, and that was something to look forward to, and that brought a little bit light on the situation.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you. You're speaking about how Yost Arena was one of your favorite arenas to play in college hockey, but do you have a particular road arena that was your favorite to play in?
Um, Wisconsin's always cool. I mean, I grew up watching Wisconsin season tickets all the time. Favorite rink probably um, on the road. Wow, I don't even know. I mean, I like Michigan U, but I wouldn't say like I loved playing there because I mean we didn't really win a lot. Like we won one game in 3 years while I was there, and I know the seniors the year before. I don't know if they ever won at U. So I don't want to say like that was great. I mean, it was cool, but definitely wasn't my favorite place to play. I mean, Minnesota's cool. I like the area up there. Um, I mean, it's kind of got a lot of history up there too. So I mean, there in Wisconsin's cool. I mean, Wisconsin, I always have a ton of family and friends. So
Now, this past season, your team was ranked number 9 in the country. How did you deal with all the pressure of being a ranked team, and how did you try to maintain the success that you had throughout the regular season?
I mean, it's Penn State, right? Like, I mean, we were ranked top 20 my whole time I was there. So I mean, like, it's no pressure. Like that's the expectation. Um, so I mean, we didn't really feel pressure at all. I mean, it was just kind of we're here to play, and never really looked at that too much. Our concerns was initially, Big Ten standings and stuff like that. I know they were ranked number one when the year before I came in. Then they lost like 8 in a row and ended up like winning the Big Ten tournament. So I mean, you don't look at it.
Now, you guys won the regular season title last year as well. What does that mean to you, especially with all the hard work that you put in to get that achievement?
I think it was cool for everyone. Like, I mean, we knew we had a special team going into that year, and for everything to kind of pan out, and it was crazy because we were watching all the games because we needed some teams to win and lose, and everything that we needed to happen happened, and we were all hanging out, went crazy. It was gratifying. Like, I mean, we knew that this is this is like this is what we wanted to do. We did it. Obviously, we wanted to have a chance at the Big Ten tournament, and then obviously the tournament itself. But it was cool to get that regular season win actually. So.
Yeah, and you were supposed to play Minnesota in the Big Ten tournament before the season got shut down because of coronavirus. Where were you when you found out that news, and what was your reaction knowing that you probably played your final college hockey game?
Um, probably we were probably just hanging out at like one of the guys' place. Like we kind of probably knew it was gonna happen. Once it happened, like we all hung out for a week and ended up dispersing. Yeah, I mean it sucked, but like everyone else's season canceled, so it wasn't just like us. So like, I mean, you couldn't really dwell on it. Like you're not the only ones. There's a lot of people making sacrifices, and that was just one thing we had to do. So.
Now, what was your favorite college hockey memory from your time at Penn State?
Favorite memory? Um, does it have to be on the ice?
It could be whatever you want.
I mean, definitely when we were watching, we were all watching it at a bar, and when we needed I don't know if it was Wisconsin or what team we needed to lose or win, and it ended up happening, and it was such a. I mean, it just felt like I played a game and we won like a tournament. So like, but we were all in a bar, but like so like that was really cool, and I'll never forget that, like the feeling, and now I just want to get that feeling again. I haven't won a lot of big championships, so like definitely want to get that again.
Definitely. Now, what's your thoughts on Penn State at the moment? Have you been watching any of their games that have happened this year?
Yeah, I watched more of their games in the beginning of the season, which unfortunately I probably should have watched the ones here that they've been playing now. But my schedule has been kind of been messy, so whenever they're playing, I seem to be busy. But they're I mean, exactly kind of how I thought they would start. I mean, they still have those Limoges, like great guys, good guys. But they got a young group coming in, so that's just that just takes time. But I mean, with the leadership group they still have there, I mean, the tide was going to turn. I mean, you can see it now with they lost tonight 6-3 against Ohio State, but you got guys like Jimmy Dowd chipping in. Like I think you're just going to see more and more of that, and they're just going to continue to go up. Like they're going to be a very, very hard team to beat by the end of this year. I
Definitely.
guarantee that.
Yeah, definitely. One player that's really impressed me from Penn State this year is Conor McMahon. I think he's really stepped up as a sophomore and is going to be a key impact player for Penn State moving forward.
Yeah, Connor's great. I love Connor. He's he's the same guy every day. Like you wouldn't know. Like doesn't come to the rink ever like, pouting, or he's just the same, like even keel all the time. So I always appreciate that about him. But I mean, he's worked for everything. I mean, he's gotten double hip surgery. I mean, it's nice to have him have things unfold for him. He was definitely one of the freshmen that caught my eyes in that class coming in right away. So I'm not surprised.
Now, do you still talk to some of the players on the team, and what's your communication with them right now?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I got different group chats with, teams from my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, small group texts, we play Xbox together. So we're staying in touch all the time. We're all best friends. Like, I mean, it's going to be like that forever. So I think, and like, that's a cool part about Penn State. I'm sure other schools are like that too, but at Penn State, like, I mean, we stay in touch. Like, I'm sure we're all going to be at each other's weddings. So that's cool.
Now, how did you balance academics and hockey at such a high level as a student athlete at a D1 college? Because that seems like it's a very hard adjustment for some guys to make.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got weather storm. If we wanted to get help, we could get help. So it's just kind of, you got to grow up a lot, and in order to play, you got to have, good grades, or you got to be passing. So I think you just got to do whatever you can to pass. I mean, for me, I it was pretty easy, honestly. Like, we spent, our 5-6 hours at the rink. But once the season got rolling, like, you weren't as busy as you would think. I mean, you would have your lift, you'd have your practice. Like, we would only lift on Wednesdays. Like, the schedule wasn't too rigorous, but when it came to like tests and exams, that's usually when you had to hunker down. But I mean, you had more time than you would think. But not that, going to the rink and working out, I mean, that takes a toll on your body and mind. So I mean, it's definitely still tough. But
Now, transitioning, I want to talk about your L.A. Kings experience. You were drafted by the Kings in the 5th round in 2017. What was your draft day experience like, and where did you find out you were going to L.A.?
I was at school. I was golfing actually with Trevor Hamilton, Alex Stevens, and then one other guy I can't remember. We were just golfing. Like, I knew I talked to LA a little bit, but wasn't sure I was going to get drafted. So I just kind of, I just want to enjoy hanging out with my new teammates, because yeah, that was my freshman summer. So I mean, I just got a call from my agent, just like, hey, like, Cole, guess what? LA took me, and it was cool. If I've ever learned anything, it doesn't get you anywhere. I mean, it means something, but nothing's set in stone. So I mean, I was a later pick. Like, I mean, I knew I was gonna have to work just as hard. Again, like, it's cool, but that's still, like, when I got drafted, okay, like, where am I gonna be in 3 years? So it's just kind of, you take it with a grain of salt, and you just got to continue to work. But I mean, it was cool.
Yeah, and what was the process like for getting selected in the NHL draft? Like, how many interviews did you have to do a week? And just talk about that process as a whole.
Oh, who do you think I am? Oh no, I only talked to I talked to LA. That's the only team I talked to. And then, I mean, Flores sent me some questionnaire, but I mean, didn't hear from them. So I mean, LA came in to Madison. One of their scouts, Tony Gasparini, came in, and we had a sit down meeting, and we just had a really good meeting. Like, I think he just really believed in what I was telling him, and I mean, I think the sole reason that they drafted me was, I mean, I had a really good year in Madison, but I think from that meeting, I think he really felt good about it. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't have a lot of interviews. I was the only one, but I guess it's the only one that meant, counted. So.
Definitely. Now, talk about those LA Kings development camps, and what did you take away from them, and what was the coolest thing you got to do there?
Yeah, I mean, they're tough. Like, pro hockey, like, college hockey's good, but pro hockey's, it's good. So, I mean, coming in, it's very detail oriented. You got to make sure you're in your A game. You got to be engaged. If you're slipping, I mean, they'll catch you. So, I mean, every time I went, I've always learned. I always learned something. They're always great. Like, we weren't going to camp, and they weren't, bagging us. They're long days, mentally, but you're actually there, and they're, you're learning. They're teaching. They're not just killing you. So, Every one of them was cool. You know, they give you an off day, you go to the beach. So, you know, my first time doing that was pretty cool. You know, they rent you bikes, so you bike up and down the beach, which is pretty different. Like I grew up in Wisconsin, so not a lot of beaches up there. So that was definitely probably the coolest thing we did.
Now, talk about some of the players you got to play with in development camp, like Alex Turcotte. He was the 5th overall selection in 2019, and he obviously won the World Juniors a few weeks ago. Just talk about playing with a guy like that, and how did that help your hockey development?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really played with Turcotte at all. I mean, I've played against him more than I played with him. I haven't skated with him yet, actually. So, I mean, he was gone for World Juniors kind of right when I got here, and I wasn't skating with a group anyways. I was kind of still doing my rehab, but he just got back, so I'm sure we'll be skating together soon.
Now, what role do you want to be in the L.A. Kings, especially with a lot of the good prospects that they have, like Quinton Byfield and Tyler Madden?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just kind of taking it day by day. You know, I just got to be able to adapt. You know, I'm young right now. There's a lot of opportunity in the organization. I just want to make sure, you know, I take care of my own end before the other one. So, I mean, I think my role is only going to evolve. I think, you know, for me, I got to keep it simple and, you know, play that shutdown role, but really trust that and kind of build my offensive upside while that's going on. So, I think it's just going to be just advancing as the years go on. You know, that's the goal, anyways.
Yeah, what are your goals and expectations for this upcoming season, whether it's with LA or the Ontario Reign?
This year, I'll start in Ontario, so just want to be there, be all in there. Tons of opportunity there, especially with NHL carrying extra guys. So they're gonna be there's gonna be a lot of playing time in the AHL. So I'm excited for that, and just want to take advantage of it.
Now we're in the non-hockey segment of the podcast where I ask you some non-hockey questions. My first question is, what is your favorite outside activity?
Outside activity. I like, we spend a lot of days on the lake in the summer, so that's always fun to come home and do that with my brothers and friends.
Now, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Um, Anyone in the world. I don't know. There's too many. I can't think of one.
I would probably choose someone like Austin Matthews just because he's a good hockey player. I'd just like to hear from him and see how he I guess plays or how his daily life is like being a good hockey player, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, definitely probably lives a extravagant life. I know he's making good money, so
Oh, definitely. I've seen some of the YouTube videos that he's made, and it's pretty awesome.
yeah. Okay.
Now, what is the hardest class you ever took in college?
Hardest class. I took a computer science class, or not science, just computer class. It was just tough, like a lot of Excel and that kind of stuff. So I just struggled with that one for sure. Me and Evan took it, and we battled through it, but we struggled.
And what music do you like to listen to on a daily basis? And what's a song that pumps you up before a game?
I like everything, honestly. Like I will just, I got like 1,000 songs on my Spotify, so I'll just hit shuffle. Like nothing really. If I'm feeling one song, I'll let it play. If not, and I mean, it switches from country to rap to rock to, anything.
Now, back to some hockey questions. Now, my first one is, what advice would you give a younger player trying to pursue D1 college hockey?
Just to be patient, don't rush. I almost rushed and ended up going to Lake State. Not that that would have been bad or nothing against Lake State, but it's just not really what I wanted to do. And just to trust it, you just got to find someone you can trust. And I was fortunate to have my brother. He told me to take things slow and just don't worry about anybody else. Like I have a very different development path than my brother did or anybody else did. So just to focus on yourself and worry about yourself.
Now, what should I do better as an interviewer to improve this podcast?
I thought they were all good questions, so I think you did a good job.
Well, I appreciate that, Cole. Is there any shout-outs you'd like to give to any your friends, teammates, or anyone in particular?
Evan Barrett.
Well, shout out to him, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Cole. I really appreciate it so much. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I wish you all the best for next season with Ontario. And you're one of my favorite college hockey players to watch, so it was an honor to interview you for my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem, Matt. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, you too.